call this meeting to order. Ask for you to rise for the pledge to the flag after the invocation. Father, we thank you with all the sincerity that I have, that you have given us this not only responsibility, but a great opportunity to do this work for the people of this county. We pray for your wisdom and your guidance in all that we consider here this evening. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item is a resolution to consider to approve the agenda.
Well, items that we'd like to remove, do we need to try to do that now, or when we come to the item? What's the desire of that?
When it comes to the item.
I'll entertain a motion. Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve the minutes of the July 15, 2014 water rate workshop and the commissioners meeting. I'll either entertain a motion for both of them as one, or if there's a question or a correction on one, we'll deal with them separately.
No corrections, I'll make a motion to approve as stated for both of them.
Motion and a second to approve both as printed. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. It should be noted that documents from this meeting are located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website, as are all of our meetings. And ask that public comments be restricted to agenda items only. Our consent agenda. First item, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Edwards Commercial Park LLC to rezone 14.20 acres located at 728 U.S. Highway 80 from B2 to B3, map number 302, parcel number 153 in the 1st District. Item number 2, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Tim Wordite to rezone 5.18 acres located at Blue Jay Road from I-1 to AR1, map number 343, parcel number 5 in the 1st District.
373.
373. Okay, if so, I stand corrected. Map number 373, parcel number 5 in the 1st District. Item number 3, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Jordan Sislow and Taryn Fishy to open a dog daycare, map 375, parcel number 44 in the 1st District. Item number 4, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Georgia Timber Exports LLC located at Highway 21 North, map number 365, parcel number 26 in the 3rd District. Item number 5, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Joey and Charlotte Stone to rezone 1 acre located at 523 Long Bridge Road from AR1 to AR2 in the 4th District. Item number 6, consideration to approve an assemblage permit for the Troutland House to hold a 5K trail run on August 16, 2014. And item number 7, consideration to renew the MOU with Effingham County Board of Education for the use of 7 school buses for the purposes of evacuation in the event of disaster. Without questions or additions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Did notice on item 7, the MOU still lists Ronald Spears as primary coordinator for this. If this is the MOU we're going to use, we're probably going to change that.
Did you get that, Jeff?
And rather than name the name, just name the title probably.
Okay.
Any other corrections, questions?
You make a motion to approve that consent
Need a
agenda.
motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the change Commissioner Mason mentioned.
Second. Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So carried. First item under old business, a refund request. The individual asking for this has been tabled twice, first on May 6th and then on June 17th. Could not be here this evening and asked that we table this again. Stephanie tells me that we can't table something a third time, that we have to simply remove it and have them repetition us to put it on another agenda. May I have a motion to do so?
Motion we remove it.
Second. Motion and a second to remove this. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Next item under old business, consideration to approve to operate and maintain a well tank and water system for Old Augusta Road development. Am I under the opinion that this is to be tabled as well?
Yes, sir. The applicant, or the engineer on behalf of the developer emailed me asking for this to be tabled until the 19th
19th of
August.
August.
Yes, sir. They needed additional time to put together some additional cost estimates that we requested.
Tullis, we can talk about this later, but I was thinking about it. There was a German fellow that owns this land that goes straight across from Goshen Road through there. And they told him for years about an easement to go through there, which would be straight across. Anyway, do you remember anything about that?
I remember exactly what you said. Before I came to work for the county, I don't know what the outcome of those conversations were. I do know that was one of the routes that was looked at one point in time, as was going up Chimney Road also. But again, that was
This here, where it crosses Goshen Road there and goes down to 21.
never.
I mean, it's already on his side of Highway 21.
If we're going to table the issue, do we discuss it and then table it? Or do we have to table it?
No, I would just, it'd be good if we could do that to find out something, you know, table it, but we can still go ahead and maybe find out something about it.
Let them know.
Yeah, I can check. I believe it was in 2005 or 6 when all that was going on. I didn't start until 10, so I'll be happy to see if I can.
We talked about it a long time, and I don't know, it just played out, they got tired of it.
I have a motion to table this to August 19th.
Make a motion to table until August 19th.
I'm recusing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table to August 19th. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Not later, Shelley, Commissioner Jones recused herself from the vote. Under new business, first item, consideration to approve a proclamation declaring August 19th, 2014 as Effingham Champions Day.
Clarence, you want to speak? No? I thought since he was here, he might want to speak.
Good
an ordinance asking for approval to proclaim August 19th as Champions Day to recognize our Effingham County Recs and Parks Flea Boys Sandhill team. They won the GRPA First District Flea Boys with Pitching Machine Championship held in Vidalia and finished as state runner-up in the GRPA State Flea Boys Tournament held in Cordele. And he'd like to designate the date of our next commission meeting, August 19th, as Champions Day for those teams. There is a proclamation in your information for all commissioners to sign.
I always think it's good to recognize young people that excel in one way or another. Any discussion or questions?
I assume next week, next meeting, we'll read the resolution and have a presentation.
That's correct.
That's right.
Yeah, be invited.
16 individuals.
Well, I make a motion to approve.
I'll say.
Have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve to execute a contract with Shenandoah Fleet Services for fleet operation, maintenance, and management services. Good evening.
Good evening, Fiona Charlton, purchasing agent. At their meeting on July the 15th, the board accepted a proposal from Shenandoah Fleet Maintenance for fleet operations, maintenance and management services. The contract has been negotiated and agreed at the not to exceed annual price of year one, $732,369, year two, $733,155.36, year three, $739,657.25, year four, optional renewal, $746,307.14, year five, optional renewal, $753,107.45. The contract will commence on September the 1st, 2014, or sooner if transition allows, and will terminate on June the 30th, 2015, after which it will automatically renew for 2 additional one-year terms. Once the auto-renewal period is complete, there is an option to renew for 2 additional one-year terms upon mutual agreement of both parties. The contract allows the county to terminate for convenience with 30 days' notice and allows the contractor to terminate for convenience with 90 days' notice. The contract complies with the accepted proposal and has been reviewed and approved by the county attorney. Staff recommends alternative 1, board approval and execution of the contract with Shenandoah Fleet Maintenance for fleet operations, maintenance and management services. Any questions?
This is just to approve the contract for the bid that we approved on July 15th.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve alternative number 1, which is to accept this contract. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Next item, consideration to accept a quote and issue a pre-event contract for disaster debris monitoring and financial recovery services.
Good evening. When a state-declared emergency strikes our area, it will benefit the county to have contracts in place so that FEMA regulations regarding procurement are not violated. An RFP for disaster debris monitoring and financial recovery services was issued in April and posted on the usual websites, advertised in the papers and sent to known vendors. A mandatory pre-proposal meeting was attended by 2 companies, but no proposals were received. The RFP was reissued in June and 3 responses were received. Based upon experience, qualifications and fees, the results are 1. Thompson Consulting Services, Lake Mary, Florida. 2. Lagos Incorporated, Maitland, Florida. And number 3, ER Assist, Bentonville, Arizona. Arkansas. I apologize. As the scope of services in the RFP would only be required in the event of a disaster, a pre-event contract has been written. No compensation will result from the pre-event contract unless in the event of a declared emergency, an activation change order is approved by the Board of Commissioners. The pre-event contract runs from August the 5th, 2014 to June 30th, 2017 and allows for 3 optional one-year renewals with the mutual agreement of both parties. It has been reviewed and approved by the county attorney. Staff recommends alternative 1, approval of Thompson Consulting Services proposal and approval to issue a pre-event contract to them for disaster debris monitoring and financial recovery services. questions?
How much of a disaster would it have to be before we call upon these people? And we had a little tornado come through here 5 or 6 years ago, and I mean, it wasn't that bad, and it's part of the county, but every little thing happened, we're not gonna call these people in, or, I mean, there's gonna be a,
That's correct. It's $13.72 million to meet the threshold for a state emergency.
how much?
$13.272 million for the entire state. We would have to be underneath a state declared emergency for this to be activated, and then we would also have to exceed our normal resources that we have here.
So would this preclude any local contractors doing work? Would this cut them off from doing work locally?
It would, under a state declared emergency. At the same time, please remember that if this was to be activated, most of our citizens would be evacuated from the county itself, as would their local contractors.
For a period of time, these people are coming out of town anyway, it's gonna take them a period of time to mobilize to get here as well.
That's correct.
And remember, all the local people, we're gonna go take all their tractors and chainsaws.
That's right.
But they had an opportunity to bid and did not bid?
They did. They had an opportunity to bid. These are the results that we got, and these are experienced in FEMA regulations.
This is just because why? I mean, why are we doing this?
To have a contract in place, so that if it's needed, we don't have to bring everybody together, sit down and get bids and negotiate a contract?
That's correct. Your EMA division is a staff of 1, which is great, but under an emergency, I am quite busy. The more preparations we can do in advance, the better. The city of Augusta spent out $17 million for debris cleanup and monitoring. I'm sure that's something they never thought they would have to do. A portion of that $17 million they will not get back as reimbursements because they did not have the preparations in place beforehand. And FEMA found it as a violation of their rules.
But then if we call these people in, the federal government, FEMA would take care of the cost of it?
If our documentation is correct and it follows their guidelines, then yes.
If they've got the money to pay.
That would be they would reimburse 75% as long as we meet their requirements. And that's procurement, that's finance, that's human resources, that's all of the county coming together, providing that documentation that we will need to actually apply for those refunds.
But does it actually, the whole sense of an emergency is that certain emergency procedures are necessary. So
Correct.
with that being the case, while we recognize that this contract would say we're using those people, would it totally preclude all use of any local? I mean, certainly we could have some help here and there, or they may even sub some of the stuff to those people. Is that right?
That is correct. The city of Augusta, of their 17, and I use them because they were the beginning of this year, they're the most recent. Of the 17 million that they spent, a portion of that, FEMA said, okay, that was during the immediate emergency and did not follow your procurement standards and policies. Therefore, they did reimburse that portion, but there was another portion they did not.
Did any local contractors bid on this?
Not according to the contract.
No.
And where was it?
We have 2 separate, the next one will be the removal. This one is for the monitoring of financial recovery. And we didn't have local for either of them.
And you want to go about where was it advertised so that they certainly would have had the opportunity? Was it
In the
on our
papers,
paper?
in the local papers, on our website, in the local papers, the Department of Administrative Services website. We send it to anybody that we have who have requested to be on our vendor list. And the Georgia Local Government Access website.
And I'm sure to meet FEMA regulations, it's not anything, any and everybody, just sheer paperwork.
I think they have to be extremely,
For
a high bond rate.
FEMA.
Yeah.
Toss, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I think y'all have. I was just gonna say there are 2 separate contracts here. The one we are talking about now is the financial monitoring of the other contract, which is the actual debris removal. And they're 2 separate companies.
Mm-hmm.
So you have one company that comes in and just monitors the paperwork of the company that's going to actually physically remove the debris. there are two separate contracts, just trying to clarify that point. Now, as far as local contractors, I think what y'all are probably asking is some of the local people that to remove the debris that they build, which will be the next contract, and I think the answer is still no. And more than likely, it's because of the conditions of the contract itself, because of what they have to comply with.
The FEMA type requirements.
Correct.
So, such
And the amount of forces and manpower and so forth that had to be mobilized pursuant to this.
In the contract, is there any stipulation for these contractors to utilize any local voters? I can't imagine having to truck.
We have- that's
Of
not-
course, they probably rent it, but everybody's been trying to rent it, but we have disaster in this area.
We don't have that written as part of the contract. We can change it because it's our template, it's our contract template. We can change it and ask that they do that if you would like.
There's nothing that would preclude them from doing so.
Yeah.
I mean, they certainly could do that. They could certainly come in and subcontract all this out to other people.
We just can't go 3 tiers down. They can subcontract, but they can't subcontract.
Yeah, subcontract.
The sub-cancel.
Yeah, one
Correct.
To put this in a perspective for you, this would be something like a Category 4 hurricane, which would leave about 4.5 million cubic yards of debris on our streets to deal with, which is about $31 to $37 million.
Yeah, for something like that happens.
Correct.
That's gonna happen all over the coast. I mean, Chatham County, everything.
So it sounds as if they're saying not necessarily on this one because this is the financial overseer, but on the next one, we could add a sentence of some sort that said, it's the desire of the Effingham Commission that the contractor use local subcontractors as much as possible.
We can have that.
And we can do that, but I think most of these companies, and Ed, stop me when I say something wrong, but this is what they do, and they hop all over the country chasing disasters, I guess, if you will, so they have,
I tried to work it in a way that it wasn't required.
yeah.
It was just an option.
Yeah, I think we can certainly do that. It says that, we prefer local sub, but we can't require necessarily.
Let me say this, just in trying to prepare in years past for what would occur, the book itself, printed out for the financial piece of it, is probably 5 inches high, okay, of documentation. It doesn't mean that we won't be in that process. It simply means that we will have people here to help with that process. A lot of that stuff will still have to be done, payroll, actual disbursements, all that kind of stuff. It is simply the fact that a person will be here to help coordinate all of that.
Understand.
I mean, we're not talking a tornado come to the county. It's not gonna, we're talking massive.
Massive.
We're gonna need the help.
Yeah.
And nothing can be done until you will approve a change order anyway to activate the contract.
When that tornado came, of course, it was just a small slide through Effingham County. But most of that was cleaned up by volunteers that had equipment to do it. And of course, the county was there, and all they had to do was haul it out of the ditch, and the county would haul it all off. So most of that, I mean, the county didn't see nothing other than our road department.
I know most of the contractors I know that have ever messed with this FEMA stuff, they're really not that interested in it because of the paperwork nightmare and the slow money train. It's coming from FEMA, many contractors will stop working for them because of it. So,
As long as we get a shot, and I think the idea of them being sub is fine.
most of the smaller grading companies, though, they don't go after this kind of stuff.
Any other questions? Motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve alternative number 1. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. All right. Next item, consideration to accept 2 proposals and issue 2 pre-event contracts for disaster debris removal services.
As we just discussed, we issued another RFP. This one was for disaster debris removal. It was posted on the usual websites and the local papers and sent to no vendors. We held a mandatory pre-proposal meeting which was attended by 8 companies. 6 proposals were received. Based upon experience, qualifications and fees, the results are Number 1, Suez Environmental. Number 2, Southern Disaster Recovery. Number 3, DRC Emergency Services. Number 4, Frodo Golf. Number 5, Phillips and Jordan. Number 6, Ashbridge Incorporated. Should a disaster be declared, someone will be first and someone will be last to get their roads cleared and debris removed. As such, staff feels it would be beneficial for the county to issue a pre-event contract to the 2 lowest bidders, Suez Environmental and Southern Disaster, as although Suez is the lowest bidder, they are currently contracted to Glynn County for disaster debris removal. Issuing a pre-event contract to 2 contractors will ensure the county will not be the last to get their roads cleared and debris removed should a disaster occur. The scope and services would only be required during a disaster and a pre-event contract. No compensation will result from the pre-event contract unless an activation change order is approved by the Board of Commissioners in the event of a declared emergency. The pre-event contract will run from August the 5th, 2014 to June 30th, 2017 and will allow for 3 optional 1-year renewals with mutual agreement. The contract has been reviewed and approved by the County Attorney. Staff recommends alternative 1, board approval and issue a pre-event contract to Southern Disaster Recovery and Suez Environmental Services.
Is there anything in one of the contracts that precludes us having a second person contractor to do the same thing?
And we can add the,
Yeah, I was gonna make a motion
okay.
and stipulate the addition. When they're ready, I'll finish ready, that's further discussion. Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve staff alternative number 1, and we add the clause to the contract that it is the desire of the Effingham County Commission that the contractor would use local subcontractors where it is feasible.
One second.
All right, motion and a second with that change. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Next item, consideration to approve an updated job description for a civil engineer grade 3.
Good evening. Okay, we're seeking approval from the board for the addition of the following job description into Department 15, which is General Government. It is a civil engineer grade 3, and we've based it off our engineering technician job description. And this is mirroring the American Society of Civil Engineers, which is ASCE. This is their requirements and how they do their grade levels, and that also ties into how they do their federal grade levels. I've given you the civil engineering new job description that is highlighted. You can see some of the changes that we've made to take it from the engineering technician that we do currently have approved, and just some different additions that we have. And you'll see that the water and sewer infrastructure projects were added, as well as water and sewer collection and distribution. We also have putting in the assistance with clients and citizens with official contracts and communication pertaining to specific assignments or meetings. And we would like the 3 years previous experience, which is an ASCE guideline. This will give us a chance, if we actually put in the grades with ASCE, we can actually add in grade 1, grade 2 if we ever needed to, going up all the way to grade 7 with our engineering. And we, of course, don't have a need for that at this point. The pay grade for the county will be pay grade 37. It has $21.43 per hour. And that's equivalent to the civil engineering technician as approved in October 2012. We're seeking approval tonight. There's no additional funds required for this. This is just a job description. And of course, it's your policy to review everything. One last addition I'd like to tell you, I've changed that from an exempt to a non-exempt position as we report to the county administrator and other engineering staff members. It does not have supervisory decision-making capability, and with the FLSA, it cannot be exempt. question.
Toss, you got over this?
Yes, sir.
Does this description do everything that you need it to do to assist the county administrator in what needs to be done?
I believe so, sir. I'm sure you'll find some situation that I'll be wrong in, but I'm fairly certain that this does, yes.
So you're not really looking for somebody to do design, actually, like some of the roads and projects that you did? Because you see what I'm getting at here, at this rate,
That's my only concern.
you're going to get somebody out of school
Correct.
that is.
That was the only concern. I was trying to make this, and I don't know Russ and I actually talked after that particular portion of it. I had marked some of it up, she had added some things to it. Is my vision of the three may have been a little bit higher than that pay rate that we're at. You know, what I was trying to get was not a county engineer to come here, but somebody that can come in and do things with little descriptions that you can basically give directive to, and they can go out and do some stuff and try to clear some of this backlog up. Some of the design, to answer your question, I guess there's several things that are queued up right now. Herbert Custer Road being one, it needs just a look to be able to figure out, will the road fit within the proposed right of way? Can we justify what goes across the property? We have some issues at Sandhill with a septic system that's failing that requires, if I had a half a day to sit down and do it, we could come up with a design for it. That just, those are the sort of things, yes, I'd be able to love to hand this person and say, you know, here's an infiltration rate, figure the pumping rates, figure, you know, all the things that go along with it, size of tank for it, make this happen. So yes, I'm trying to find someone that can do, but not be the county engineer until we can clear some stuff up and figure out where we want to take that part.
I'm just saying that this is not going to replace you.
No, and nor was it intended to do that. It was intended just to give basically that you could give some direction and help somebody that.
But you're not going to get it like this. You'll get somebody right out of school and a little bit of work experience, you know. But if they're 3 years, if they have an EIT and they're 3 years in, they're only 1 year from a PE, you know, this isn't going to be
Correct. I think the description probably handles what we want with some oversight. I think the pay grade is probably what's not lining up real well there.
I can't
think
say.
the pay grade came from the engineering technician, which was designed to be just that helpful.
Right. I did say we did some research for local engineering companies, and we do have their pay schedule. They asked, since they're a privatized company, for it not to be released because they also have some other things on there. But their junior design and their design engineer, which is very similar to what we're talking about, it's within range. Their first step, as they're proposing for 2014, is $42,009, and their second step is $47,597, and this pay grade falls like right in the middle, and it is very similar in requirements. And these are two local companies. It's not, we are below the national average, I will tell you.
But what I'm getting at is, for this person to do what I'm thinking you're looking for them to do, in that scenario, they're working directly under a civil engineer. In this scenario, unless you're going to have time to devote to it, you're not going to get design work out of this person.
Correct. Now, I am assuming that they would continue to work on something. What I think could happen is, given a few months' time, honestly, if this person can come in and take that, even if you have to give direction, I think we can get to that. I think I can provide direction up until the point that we can determine what we want to do with a county engineer replacement and how that department's going to shake out. There's some things we've lightly touched on in the past about reorganization. There's some things that I want to look at, even bringing people into this building that I think will help. So I think there's a few more steps that we want to do to get there. But right now, you're right, I'm not trying to replace the position that Steve was working in. I'm trying to replace somebody that can work with direction. So I think we're close. If there's any different, I think we're within a few $1,000 of it, honestly. Of where you're at and where we might need to be.
This person you talk,
Ease the load while you're continuing
Yes,
to
ma'am.
figure out.
Yes, ma'am. So,
this person is, we're talking about here, somebody you could sort of, with your ability and all, you can sort of mold this person to do the things that you
Yes.
can't do, that you don't have time to do.
yes, I'm not asking for somebody to work completely autonomously. All I'm saying is it can't be a finishing school either. You know, they have to have some degree of knowledge that if you basically, if you were to come up and say, look, I need to design a septic system over here, let me tell you the pieces you need to do, they at least know how to calculate head loss, they know how to figure out, size of tank, Q in, Q out kind of things. As long as they can do that, then yeah, I think we can work with that. Some of these road issues we've been dealing with, if you can give them direction, here's a template to put together a bid package, figure out the length times the width, the quantities and so forth, and then you can check back over. It's just somebody to actually physically do those pieces.
Well, technically, I guess if we approve this and then you were to advertise the job, if you did not get applicants that were satisfactory, you might then know, okay, wait a minute, we might have to have another look and do some type of different pay scale for what we're needing. I mean,
Yeah, we can
I think
certainly.
the applicants might help determine if there's a problem.
But again, I don't think we're that far off of what I'm envisioning. Again, like Mr. Mason said, this isn't going to be a direct replacement for what we had as a county engineer, but it would be with some supervision, which is what I'm trying to get to. I don't think it's far out there. I mean, this is roughly 45. I would think it's another 50 on it. So I would think if we're not in the same place, I don't think we're terribly far off. I don't think we're talking about 45 to 70 or anything here.
Locally, it's between 42 and 47, well, almost 43 to 47.5. We're in right smack dab in the middle.
I think the money's right for that person to go to an engineering firm. But at the engineering firm, it's like you referred to, finishing school. And that's the question I have, are you going to have time to help with finishing school?
Finishing school, no, sir. I mean, we can find somebody with just enough ability to work autonomously enough that you can give, I expect them to be given direction, just not. In other words, I don't think I'm going to say, hey, go do the septic tank, the roads, all these things, and I'll see you next week. There would be some direction, but as long as they can fill the pieces in. Even like going back to Herbert Tesla, once you build a template, okay, this is how you run it in AutoCAD. I can show you how to do that, but you have to sit there and build it and put it together and then think about it. Does the drainage actually work? Will it tie in or will it actually work because of this?
I'm fine with it. I just think that, I think like Stone said, so you just wait and see what applicants you get.
Yes.
And if you don't get anything, maybe adjust it.
And again, I think that's what Ms. Jones said, it's basically to clear the queue out, to get some breathing room so we can see what we do need and how we can do rather than a knee-jerk reaction, just replace somebody that, that we can shuffle that department around. 'Cause I think there's still some efficiencies to gain there, quite honestly.
I'd like to see somebody do some inspections on this construction we're doing, because there's no control of what contractors are doing.
Correct. And since you brought that up, we have had our first major subdivision submitted since I've been here in over 4 years. So it is coming back. I mean, we're going to transition from home building to actual lots again, and that's going to become ever more important. With this MS4, we're going to try to get you some ordinances next meetings that's due September. We're trying to furiously work through that, and all of that's highlighting the fact that there's got to be somebody to take this over and hold it and look at it. Make sure just kind of keep it together. But for now, I think we're okay. We can just get some help to help get some of this done.
Any other questions, concerns, discussion? That's why I asked Toss if this was going, if he felt like this would do what he needed.
The description, yes, sir. And we, just so y'all know, we will not have this advertised before 5 minutes after y'all approve this.
Gotcha. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve alternate number 1.
Motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Next item, consideration to approve a letter of intent for underwriting services and agreement with Merchant Capital LLC.
Afternoon. As you know, we have had a relationship with Merchant Capital for some time now. As part of the rules and regulations that have come into play based on the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform Act, we are in need of an agreement with them to perform several functions that they perform for us currently at our current certificates of participation as our underwriter. And so this particular letter and agreement outlines those parameters
what they can do, what they cannot do. These type rules have been in effect since 1977, but they actually are putting some teeth into them as far as checking behind these agencies to ensure that there is an agreement in place. And so we have pulled together that letter and the agreement and asked for your approval so that they can continue to provide for us scenarios as they have done in the past. Perhaps the continuing disclosure requirements that we have. We are on the phone with them from time to time regarding those issues. And so we simply seek this agreement to ensure that we're in compliance with those rules.
So this doesn't encumber this board in any new ways. This is just simply the paperwork so that this money complies with
That's
it.
correct. There are no dollars involved, and they are aware that should we seek to do any further bonds in the market, that is at the direction of this board, and have no venue regarding those against this agreement.
But why would they agree to do this for us? I mean, what they gonna get out of it?
They already have, technically, because they already did our bonds for the jail.
Yeah.
And this basically covers their ability to discuss with us and talk with us, given the fact that they have already been the underwriter for us on those bonds.
It's just actually legally documenting the fact of what they do.
That's correct.
We have a document saying they do this. It won't prohibit us from pricing someone else and going with someone else.
That's correct.
We got a lot of meetings with them, I mean, it's hard to know.
And under the new regulations that have taken effect, they could not even do that. They could not just simply meet with you.
Not without this document.
Or give you any type of form or without this.
This is an engagement agreement to say that we might want to engage it,
That's correct.
or that we already have.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Any other questions? Motion?
Make a motion to approve the contract, alternate number 1.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried.
Just another treaty deal front paper.
That's right. Go and get in this one. Consideration to approve potential payments regarding the new Savannah water and sewer contract.
As this board is aware, we have been through many of the water and sewer contracts, trying to solidify those and trying to put some of those to bed. As you remember, during our audit time, one of the audit findings that we had, which I believe was number 8, basically outlined the fact that we needed to review these contracts and ensure that we were in compliance with these contracts. Some time ago, when this board was first investigating the items that were left that still needed to have some action on, I had put together a list of the current contracts and the potential for items that may need to be paid or are still out there. It was during that review this past year that this particular contract came up, and the fact that the manner in which it was written left some ambiguity as to exactly at what point payments would be due and what was the benefited track that would ensue those payments. And so in the review of that, we went back, pulled all the contracts that we could find. There was an initial contract that was dated 1/25/2006, an additional agreement 1/30/2006, a first amendment in February of 2006, and what is the final second amendment in August of 2008. And it contemplated us paying Savannah New River for those impact fees that were paid within this benefited tract. However, if you read part of that contract also shows that credits for water and sewer improvements shall be 55% of the total water impact fees as adopted by the Board of Commissioners at the time paid by the benefited tract owners to the county to repay the developers for its cost of constructing the county's off-site water distribution center as shown in, described in Exhibit D. To my knowledge, and Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, this agreement was to solidify an earlier agreement, and there is no construction past.
Yeah, to give you some background. The original agreement with this included a payment by them of $3.5 million cash to the county. They wanted to handle it that way. They didn't want to be at risk that the impact fees were going to go up. And at the time of this agreement, there were discussions in the county about raising the impact fees. They had planned a residential development, as I recall it. So they paid a $3.5 million payment to the county that contemplated credits as they built houses. In 2008, they came back to the county with a different plan for a different type of development, and they realized that they might never have enough water sewer demand to get back their full $3.5 million. And so they asked to renegotiate the agreement. And the second amendment, which Joanne is referencing, that was the result of the back and forth of those discussions. I don't think the agreement is particularly ambiguous, and everyone understood at the time that they were going to be paid back cash. I think what was contemplated was that they were going to be building something, and we were going to be applying credits as they came in with water sewer tap requests, and then at the end of each quarter we would reconcile and then make a cash payment. So I don't think it's particularly ambiguous. There is a map that showed the benefit it tracked. Anyway, that's where we
What
are.
I'm referring to is the one phrasing in there that talks about to repay the developer for its cost of constructing. That to me,
Has referenced in Exhibit D, and
Exactly.
Exhibit D that is with the contract is a pricing schedule from the county. It is not what it's supposed to be. It's not a proper exhibit. It's a
I
completely
believe,
wrong document.
and correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, I think this particular series or this particular line was the Goshen A, if I'm not mistaken. And I have not been able to confirm that.
Without getting into it.
The bottom line is they didn't build it. They gave the county
That's
$3.5
correct.
million cash to help the county build it.
That's
They did that
correct.
because they did not want to be at risk of impact fees going up.
Yeah.
They insisted on doing it that way.
They did it in, well, the contract itself says it's in lieu of
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
In lieu of what? What is it in lieu of?
I'm not sure where you are.
It's in lieu of the guarantee of the letters of credit.
Yeah, I'm just not
But-
sure where you are, what page.
I understand, it's fine. What my suggestion for tonight is, what I would like to recommend within us, because it's very involved, is that I would like to make a list, and maybe other commissioners have questions, I don't know. I'd like to make a list of questions that we have some answers to before there's some things that need to be answered before we make a decision on this tonight, in my opinion. Legal questions about the contract that need to be addressed. And I can ask them all to you tonight, but you're not gonna, I don't believe you're gonna have a on-spot answer for each one of them. I think it'd be more appropriate to come up with those in writing, give you a chance to get them addressed. So, because before we approve just paying them out an amount of money, I'd also like to see how the calculation was calculated as to how the money was arrived at and all that. So, I'd like to table this until the next meeting where we can get our questions together and give you a chance to answer any of those.
I think one of the first questions we need to ask too is where is New Savannah LLC now? Toss and I were looking, and I had looked some months back. They are still, they do still appear on the Secretary of State website. And it looks like up until last year, they had paid their annual corporate registration dues, but it does not look like they had paid for this year. Murphy McLean was one of the principals. I used to see him in town, a couple of times a year. Haven't seen him or heard from him. I believe they were represented by Hunter McLean during all of the negotiations of this contract. Haven't heard from Hunter McLean.
I know it's my understanding, I mean, they haven't come to us and asked for anything. but this is an attempt to clear up that we're supposed to be following whatever the things are with the contracts and determine what we are going to do with this one.
Right.
And it did call for us to calculate it at the end of every year and do whatever. So either we've got to decide we're going to do that or we're not going to do it, or, and I think we need some questions answered before we get to that point. So I think getting them on the agenda so we can get there is important, but I would like to make a motion that we, unless you have further discussion, that we take it.
Wasn't Murray Marshall involved with those people also?
Yes, he was.
He was very involved.
He was banging on the window of my office on a Saturday about this agreement.
Recently?
No. At the time this was prepared, I happened to be in the office and saw the light on through the blinds.
They're right.
He's still around Savannah, isn't he?
Yes. As
I
far
haven't
as
seen him in a long time.
As far as I know, he is.
Yeah.
All right, this was exactly, if I understand correctly, what you were trying to accomplish the last commission meeting, when you were trying to get a committee formed to not only look at this one, but some other ones that are floating around out there in the same fashion.
Correct.
We voted not to do that. We voted for staff to do that and to bring us these on an individual basis. Is that still the wishes of staff, or would it not be good to try and look at all of these things and bring it back to a commission?
Well, I asked Joanna today when I called her and asked her about this, how many of these were they that she was aware of? How many of these were going to be to handle? And she said it was her current knowledge and understanding of approximately 3 of them. This is one.
I believe there's 5.
Okay.
I went back and
Okay, and it'll probably be 10, to be frank with you. But on a serious, I mean, this is the beginning. I certainly think every commissioner needs, these are, I still have the same position. If somebody else wants a couple of people to look at it and then everybody's still got to hear it, that's up to them. But that's
The
what
only
we're
thing
going to.
I can perhaps offer is that we go ahead and do the due diligence, provide this information to each one of the commissioners and go ahead and let you form your questions and have those questions answered perhaps prior to us actually putting it on the agenda. If that would work better for.
Well, that's fine, however you want to do that. But this is not it's not time sensitive that if we don't answer it in 30 days, it's a problem.
No.
We just do have to get it addressed.
But that's why, because one may interact with another one, so it would appear to me if we're not going to take action on this one tonight.
Well, this is very different than the others because is this not the only one where they pay out cash up
This
front?
one is unique.
This is very
This one is
different.
unique.
This is very different.
And
We know that they gave the county $3.5 million.
It was not only that, but it was also within the GFA letter, if I'm not mistaken, that when they pledged that we
Yeah.
had to have that along with the letters of credit.
They have, different ones have similarities, but they are all fairly unique.
This one is really unique. And
Most of the questions that I would have to
they
apply
were
here
the
were covered.
first. All right, they're probably the first ones.
Then what I would like to do then is let's table this one to the second meeting in September with the board's permission. Which to table it to August 19th, I don't think is going to give us the time to deal with it.
Sure.
There's something else that we'll discuss later about the first meeting in September, so let's look at the second meeting in September.
September 16th.
That would be the 15th?
16th.
16th. If someone wants to give me a motion to table it till then, everybody get their questions together and let staff have it ready.
I'll make a motion that we table this item to the second meeting in September 16th.
Second.
Motion and a second to table to September 16th. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve change order number 1 on senior citizens and DFCS flooring. Who's going to speak in the absence of Mr. Kobeck?
I'll try my best to represent Mr. Kobeck properly. In April of this year, contract was approved with the board for flooring installation at the Senior Citizen Center and Department of Family and Children's Services building. The contractor is requesting a change order to cover the cost of additional labor and materials used in the performance of the work. When the contractor arrived and began to do work, there was patchwork or being shoe molding that once was moved could not be reused. Additional labor was utilized for these repairs. The contractor is requesting $2,475 in additional labor costs. The RFP and addendum allowed the use of inmate labor to help with pulling up the carpet, and while inmate labor was provided, there were occurrences where it was not timely. With the contractor schedule, we arrived late with a particular inmate labor, or could not be there when they were scheduled to work. And to meet our particular timelines, I think we were trying to push the contract a little bit to get through some activities that were going on. Ultimately, the contractor had to end up coming in on weekends when he was unable to use inmate labor either. So because of the inability to utilize labor as originally intended, there was some additional labor costs that created by the contractor. The contract does provide that no work outside the scope of work pertaining to the RFP will be performed without the advance written approval of the county administrator or project manager. That was not done. The contractors just took it upon themselves to do the additional work and so forth, to do the labor without asking. So here we sit in this position. We do believe that the work was done. We believe it was done correctly. We just don't think he followed proper procedure in asking for our permission before doing it. So where we sit today is in that particular regard, and staff is recommending that we do pay the additional labor with and along with that, send a letter to the contractor, which is included in the above, that basically says don't ever do this again in the future.
I have strong opinions about this. I'm sure that surprises everybody. But when you publicly bid something and everybody bids, and they agree to do it for a price, how do you then come back and say, oops, it was more work than what we thought, so can we have more? And when you come in at a change order, what is it? I wish Adam was here as project manager, because these are the kind of things that I have serious concern about. Because in one meeting, I'm told, yes, change orders always have to come before the board, and they have to come before they happen, and we have to approve them. So he's calling it a change order, but it can't really be a change order. It's a, what is it? It's a goof up. It's not a change order. A change order is something that gets approved before it takes place. So it's not a change order. That is skewing of the appearance on that. And so to me, it's not fair, because there's too many scenarios if we are approved to pay somebody more money because afterwards, then you kind of have skewed the bidding process, have you not? Because the other people, maybe they did it properly, maybe they figured all that in. And then when things are being said to us, like it was in the RFP about using inmate labor, well, maybe that's the case, but the contract itself says that he warrants, the contractor, that he warrants that he has used his people, his subcontractors, blah, 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 and that it covers all of that. So I don't understand why, when he came and asked for more money, the project manager didn't say, no.
Now, I have two problems with this. First one is, anybody does any kind of construction work, when you take up shoe molding, I've never been able to take it up and reuse that shoe molding.
Amen.
Anybody that does any construction work knows that if you take up shoe molding, you might as well get some more than paint, because you don't tear it all to pieces.
I know that.
And the second thing is the inmates. You can use them inmates, you can use them in the rain if you give them raincoats. They can also work on the weekends. They can work anytime you want them to work, the inmates. That's the way I understood it anyway.
Did they say that, I mean, if they had to do it on a weekend, they obviously called somebody and said, hey, if you want this done by this period of time, we're going to have to work on weekends. I'm thinking somebody had to give them an okay there to do that.
And I apologize, I honestly don't know.
But the write-up said they did not get any advance.
That's my understanding, is they did it, now how to get into the building on the weekend without, I don't know.
And I agree with Commissioner Lepper. I had actually written that down. Anybody in that business knows when they take up shoe molding, it's not reusable. You can never reuse shoe molding.
The short of it is, it says, no work outside the scope without advance notice.
Right.
Approval.
And then we recommended us to tell them that in writing. Well, we already did it. We're going to tell them again, but pay them. Because when you pay them, you're kind of telling them what we say in writing, but it don't matter.
I think I know where this is going, so.
Now, I believe that we don't need to do anything with this, or I do believe that one part of this that we probably should pay for is the patch material, because obviously that couldn't be seen until the carpet was pulled up. But the other parts of it,
In flooring, in the flooring business, if you don't know that you're going to patch a floor 99% of the time, there's a price for it.
And I don't
We
see
do it every day.
anywhere in the contract that it says if we pull this up and find out that we need patch material, it's gonna be extra.
You always have to patch.
that is true.
It's just like always have to patch.
I don't remember the bid, you know, what.
That's the only part I could agree with.
Bid.
Them dates, I mean, they
Well, that, and here's the word the contract represents that it has secured and will secure at its own expense all personnel and equipment necessary to perform the services of the contract.
patch material, $800, that's a lot of patching.
Anybody got a motion for it?
I'll make a motion to deny.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to deny payment of this, whatever you call it, additional charges outside the scope of the original contract. All in favor? Any opposed?
You didn't say anything. You didn't give us a point, you know. What's a counter? Because if I'm wrong, I want to know.
No,
Hear it.
you know, as a contractor, I've been there where you've had to make a gut decision at the last minute.
We eat it.
We eat it. Trust me, I know.
Me too, but that's what changed was a long time.
Let the record show that the vote was to deny payment, and Commissioner Kiefer voted against that motion.
I mean, which one's fine.
No, that's fine.
Next item, consideration to approve clerk travel for the Georgia Municipal and County Clerks Education Conference.
Do I need to elaborate on that, Tim? It's continuing education towards my clerk certification.
Honestly, have it ready. Where are you going?
Back to Athens.
She needed training
That
on
was the
wire.
only thing is, if she was going to Hawaii, I wanted to know.
The staff report says Hawaii, you sure?
The only place to train.
Okay.
Carry luggage.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve drop post.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. All in favor? None opposed? Enjoy Athens. Next item, consideration to appoint David Harris to the unexpired term of the District 1 seat on the IDA board.
Okay, Ms. Rose Carly has resigned her position effective July 31st last month, which is the first district seat open. Commissioner Floyd had a recommendation of Mr. David Harris. Mr. Harris has provided his member profile application. And as far as I'm aware, there are no other interested parties.
You'll be in there for 3 or 4 months, and then you'll have to be reappointed.
That's right.
I would ask Stephanie, I'd ask David if he had, because I looked at his application, but his resume wasn't attached. Did he include that? He did, okay. I want to forward, I've had some questions, I want to forward each of you a copy of his full resume.
I think he has a degree in Georgia Tech.
Yeah, he's sharp.
And technically, there's not a District 1 seat on the IDA, it's by militia district. But that militia district has been appointed by the District 1 Commission. So technically, it's some militia district seat.
You are correct.
What is it, 15 more?
There's 5.
And I know the one I do is the 12th, which is the very tip of the county.
I know David pretty well, I think he's probably there.
I know.
All right. Any questions, discussion, motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1 to appoint David Harris.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to award a contract and issue a notice to proceed for 2014 Ash Road repairs and resurfacing.
This will be the second round of ASRO researching that we're looking to do this year. This will be the same process as, I guess was done for the previous 16 plus mile, where we ended up with change orders, where we were basically going in and re-grinding the roads, reprofiling them, and putting a bitumen surface treatment on it. The only difference in this contract and the first one that we led, the first one was a double surface treatment. This one actually uses a sand seal surface treatment. So it puts a third layer of emulsion on top of it with a W9, I think they call it. It's a screen basically. And the last layer of emulsion, it basically looks like asphalt. It's a tighter seal. It helps prevent the water a little bit better. Upon talking to the contractor, the last time he was in, the change, the difference in price between the two, we felt was justifiable for the protection that it gives, that we hope will get a little more longevity. And if any of y'all have traveled these roads, Courthouse Road extension, the places that we did there was the triple surface treatment. He did that just for us to look at for no extra charge. The rest was double, so that's what you'll get is what was done on Courthouse Road extension with these roads. We have spoken, or I have spoken with the contractor. It is our intent to do these this year, meaning this calendar year. However, weather may preclude us from getting all 20 miles done, but that is our intent. And if we get to the end and can't do them, he and I will speak and we'll put some on. I apologize, I forgot to put the list of the roads that we're doing in the package so that you all have a list of that up there. As I was explaining earlier, the previous contract, we had public works, they tagged along pretty closely. We managed that as best we could. We measure everything as far as square yardages. We stretch things as far as we can. The contractor's here to do, he wants to get paid for the number of square yards. He doesn't care how many miles it is or how many roads. So if we can add additional roads and do things, we do that. You'll notice there's two columns. One's called pulverization, the other one's called surface treatment. A lot of times they don't match. That is because we do not grind things that aren't in bad shape. And we do that to stretch it all over the farm. If it's not bad now, falling apart, we go over it with another surface treatment, we don't grind it. So when we get in the field and figure out we can adjust those one way or the other. If there's areas we needed to add or don't, we'll do that too.
I thought Courthouse Road was a pretty good, it seemed very, very much improved.
Yes, sir. And that is the triple surface. That is what these roads will be. And again, we will do that in the future. We bid them differently. There is a price difference, but it's insignificant, I guess, in the overall cost of for what we believe we'll get out of the longevity.
The two things though that to me with this contract and the current list we're doing is traffic control or total lack thereof. That was the single biggest problem we had with people is they would put the tar down, no traffic control, no flagging, and people were driving through it hot. So it was a total fiasco. So we've got to put some teeth in our contract about traffic control because they're not just doing it on their own. And then the quality control. However it takes for us to get some quality control, there's absolutely no reason for these roads that we just treated and resurfaced, profiled, to have water standing on a month after they finished. And that is happening. There's failures on Laurel Tree Road now where the road is settling for lack of compaction or whatever, but there's some potholes already starting and the road's a month old, 2 months old.
I discussed them.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to answer that in sequence. Number one, as far as traffic control, to be perfectly honest with you, I can't remember what's in the contract for that. I would need to go back and look. I do know when I was putting together, we did not include the SP 150 special revision, the GDOT, that we do with some of our other ones for traffic control.
I'm basically
I just don't know what's in there. And then secondly, I asked Public Works to be present as much as they possibly can. I think they have. If they're not doing an adequate job, then that's something I need to address with their staff over there. And if they're not, it may be because they don't have the ability to do that. We could go outside and hire an independent person if y'all wanted to. Of course, there's a cost of doing that. And there's any number of ways we can do this.
Well,
They got $10,000 in there for traffic control.
typically you're going to give notice to residents with a flyer, mailer, signboard, something with some advance notice. But the day of application of the asphalt itself, the tar in this case, I know that there was nobody, and there was some pretty heated discussions. I think the sheriff was called on some of it because it got pretty heated out there with people. And David, I believe that's his name, right? And-
Mr. Littlefield?
Yeah, what's his first name?
There's one of them, Dave, and the other one. I think Dave's generally the one that's been out. Dave Littlefield.
I thought so. Anyway, that's the one thing before we, as we go forward with any more, we've got to have something in there. Because we can't just say, just terminals.
Sure, yeah.
And that's basically what we did. And then the quality control, because that was one of the things that we've got to do on these act roads that we talked about, is we've got to get profiles so that they drain.
Well, I can't answer the traffic control issue tonight, and the quality control, again, that's the level that we can provide Public Works. If you'd like to do something different, we certainly don't have to approve this tonight. If we get it this year, we do. It was just an effort by staff to keep the momentum going,
Right.
and the officers needed.
Well, rather than delay it,
We need to get started.
it sounds to me like maybe this concern could be addressed by just, rather than delay the progress, that we should be able to award it, but you want some type of wording in the contract.
We've just got to have something.
He wants to add something that would protect, just, that would, it doesn't have to be
All I'm
GDOT.
saying is if I do something to the contract that adds significant dollars to the contractor, he may not honor that same price because I'm changing the scope after his bill, is what I'm saying. So it would allow me the opportunity to go back to him and say, we need to do these things, or are you still able to hold his price in that? Because, I mean, it's already been bid, and the scope was the scope. I just don't remember.
Well, we could approve it tonight with the extra wording of we want this and this, and see if he will accept to do it for that, and if he won't, then he can bring it back.
We need to go ahead and get started while it's more well.
He's got the traffic control in his bid. So
$10,000.
that is,
We can't be sure he exits.
what we're talking about is flagging. We're not talking about setting up DOT standard.
Yeah.
Just to be sure it is, yeah. I think maybe.
They did that road by my house, now they wouldn't let you go down until it came back over with the rocks.
And see, that's what I don't know. I wasn't out there. I talked to Jerry about it on some. He said they had traffic control, had signs up. I'm saying I've never been. I don't know. Clearly, you were at one
I
of
mean,
the.
putting up a sign saying road construction is traffic control, yeah. But with the distributor running down the road and nobody stopping traffic from driving down the road while it's hot, or saying directing them to one lane,
Yeah.
that's a problem. And that did happen.
So I'm sure it did. I don't know. So.
And if he's got traffic control in the bid, it sounds like it's just more overseeing that they do what they're supposed to do. I think it's what he did.
And I just got the perception there wasn't a whole lot of oversight. They would just turn loose.
I asked them to be there as much as they can. I'll be perfect. Whether they were there every day or 3 days during the contract, I'd have to follow up with Jerry and find out.
But one of the ones on this list that's the most critical that I know is that Springfield Egypt. I never realized how much traffic is on that road.
It was on the original list. When we did the shifting, we had to pull it back to this one. So we'll see if we can get it first. Because it was.
I don't know, you've got the traffic count on it, you probably do somewhere, but I'm just amazed how much traffic uses that road. I guess it's a diagonal shortcut through the county.
Well, we can do it either way y'all comfortable with it. And if y'all want to approve it, continue to fund those conversations, we'll certainly have them with the contractor. If you want to delay it, that's completely up to y'all also.
I think how we would move forward.
Move forward.
I don't want to delay it.
But give him some direction. I mean, shoot, when they grind it up, they come back over it and grade it, right?
And graded in back.
Right, that's not the problem.
So they need to be profiled on that,
Yeah.
rather than fixing it, leaving it where it'll
I
work.
think it's more about just making him aware of our expectations.
Yeah.
I think that's the most thing.
And we'll do that.
Notification, that would be on us anyway, right, in county, for the notification.
Not good.
Mr.
Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, housekeeping issue. In Article 9 on page 5 of 10 in your package, references the agreement as being pages 1 through 8 exclusive, but I see only 7 pages of the agreement, and then it references some additional documents that were not in the package, general conditions, supplemental conditions, specifications from the project manual, and the addenda, which were not in the package, and I wanted to make sure that those documents that actually are supposed to be referenced for if they were possibly
Did you have the contractors, Stephanie? They're in that, they're the ones that he signed. We stopped putting the entire thing in the books just because of the size of it. If y'all, it's sitting right here, if you would like to see all the particular parts that Mr. Gall was referring to, it's in that package there. The contractor has signed that, the chairman does. And we deliver the entire thing, which has scopes, addendums and all within the contract. We make that part of the contract. It's just not in the book. We can go back to that. We
We
discussed
don't have
this
to have it
couple
in the books,
meetings
but it's
ago.
Eric, if it's on a contract, Eric, is the attorney reviewing that?
Well, and that would be my fault. I think the answer would be no, because I'm sure I forgot to send it to him, the way he's feverishly looking through it clearly. I forgot to send it to him.
I
We
wouldn't
can
normally
approve it based upon
I wouldn't normally be reading like the project specifications, because those are engineering and construction type
Yeah.
things. But,
I have a 7 and 10. Is that what you didn't have?
I think Elizabeth did review it.
Elizabeth reviewed it. I sent it to her.
Yeah, but of the actual document, it's
Okay.
01350 dash, and it's 4567.
Right.
And where he referred to, I think there's a section that says contents of the contract. I listed 1A, I messed up. It should have been 7 instead of 8.
Okay.
These things shorten and lengthen as I do them.
Are you good with that?
Yes,
Okay.
just wanted to make sure.
And again, we just quit putting it in the packages because it gets so darn big. They end up with 100-something pages that,
We agree with that.
yeah.
All right, after the housekeeping, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we award the contract and issue notice to proceed, staff alternative number 1, and give staff direction for them to direct the contractor as to these expectations that were discussed tonight.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to cancel September 2nd, 2014 commission meeting.
How they word this works, you know,
Basically, that meeting's the day after Labor Day. Talking with staff, I think we don't have anything pressing that we're going to have to deal with then. We're going to be having this called meeting next Wednesday, correct?
We'll have
And I have directed, there's a workshop that we're going to deal with at the same time that was time sensitive. Get it out of the way before this. So I was asked if, what my feelings was, and I felt like we could probably cancel this meeting.
yeah, I think we need to.
Can I have a motion? Unless anybody feels different.
I'll make a motion that we cancel the first meeting scheduled in September.
Second.
Motion and a second to cancel the September 2nd, 2014 Commissioners meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Let the record show. Commissioner Mason opposed.
Well, we have 3 meetings this month, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we have it
Okay.
And we will have a call meeting next Wednesday.
next Wednesday, August 13th.
What time is that?
6.
That meeting's at 6. We'll have a workshop at 5.
Okay.
That is specifically for the millage at 6 o'clock. Something in the law, as I understand it, dictates that we have to have that meeting after 6 o'clock. But since we're coming anyhow, and people are used to showing up at 5, we want to have somebody here, so we might as well make use of our time. Come at 5, have a workshop.
Workshop at 5.
I know that.
That's Wednesday, August 13th, right?
Correct. We good? That concludes the last item on our
New business. Reports.
Did you say Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Oh, it's 16.
13.
13. I'm sorry.
What you got, Toss?
May not make that.
Normally, you have your sheriff's office updates and your packages. Blue Jay and McCall Road, I would say that construction is complete on that with the acceptance of pavement markings, because that's normally we have to wait 4 to 5 days when they come back. The side roads and paved driveways have been pulled. Concrete driveways are still in need of repair. We are looking into ways to do that, and quite honestly, that I missed that one. I did this one on tabletop. I never went to the site, and I was completely missed. There was concrete drives on it. We brought the pavement up 6, 7 inches on that one, so we will have to do something. So we're looking between public work. I'll bring a change order back to y'all. We're trying to get pricing on it now and see how we can do it. That'll come y'all at a future date. Central Road is.
Don't you have a price for asphalt?
No, sir.
Asphalt drives?
Concrete.
Right, don't you have a price for asphalt drives? And how far back did they include?
We can do that. I told him not to do it. I told him to repair the concrete per what was there instead of pulling over the top.
Because
And they've already left
now
now.
concrete is on the right way. Typically what you do is you put the concrete and put the asphalt to the joint. You don't go in there and pour concrete back.
Yeah. And we're progressing now. We'll bring something back, y'all, how we're going to finish those last, but the side roads and the paved ones have been done. Public Works is still building the shoulders on that. As I understand that, we're down to 1 dump truck, something left. We have an issue with our provider actually repairing the ones we have. Zittriah Road is complete with the exception of striking. It's the same thing. They got to wait till they come back. And the concrete driveways. The contractor will come back and begin to repair those now. He actually sent me an email while we're in this meeting. We will build the shoulders on that one also. We've talked about this before, just leaving it for information. August the 12th, next Tuesday, 5 to 7, there's a public information open house at Savannah Tech. The Savannah campus of Georgia Tech is on the 21 and 95 Virgin Diamond Interchange. The 2014 State Report Address is September 25th. Have you got what you need on that?
No.
If y'all are going, please
Still need to know the plans on the.
tell the clerk that she can pay for y'all.
Anybody else? Chairman?
I'm still thinking about it. I'm supposed to be gone that day, but that might not happen.
So it's still a little ways off. I don't know what the deadline for registration is. I don't have that with me, that piece of paper. But if y'all are going, please tell the clerk. There's an inaugural transportation summit that's going to be held September 22nd from 8 a.m. until 4 at the Marriott Macon Center. You have the paper. I believe they have the printout of that in your packages up there for additional information if you want to see what it is. It started out with Safety Lou and came over to Map 21. It sounds like just a bunch of talking to me, but FEMA grant workshop, Congressman Barrow is going to be holding a FEMA grant workshop providing information on disaster assistance and ways that FEMA can help you when a disaster strikes. That will be held Wednesday, August 13th from 10 to 12 at Augusta Technical College office in Augusta. If you would like to go see what assistance FEMA has to offer.
Need to make sure it goes.
Yeah, I don't know where you get that.
He's going.
You will?
I sent it to you.
Make sure he goes.
Baywood subdivision, we had a request to accept infrastructure inside of Baywood subdivision. Public Works went out and done an inspection and found no deficiencies. However, there are approximately $410 in taxes due. This is an interesting one. The roads were deeded over to the Baywood Homeowners Association, which is now defunct. It was administratively dissolved, I believe, in 2008 by the Secretary of State. In searching the records, there was one person that was the president of the association, the secretary, and the vice president of the actual, I believe it was the LLC, may have been incorporated, whatever it was. That particular person, we think we have almost tracked down. It appears they have had a name change, but they are a consultant for a private aviation firm somehow affiliated with Gulfstream. Before we actually find them and get stroked in the head for trying to find a private individual that works for a security agency, we were wanting to know if the board would be in favor of accepting the infrastructure within that subdivision with those taxes being owed. If they are, we will create a deed, we'll try to find this particular person and see if they will sign it. We've asked Ted Trellis, his advice was to get them to sign this particular deed. In the absence of doing so, I don't know that there's enough recourse other than condemnation there to get it. So before we went down that, we just want to see if there's any support on the board.
Yes.
I think we can tell you definitely unless we take a vote, but I would direct you down that path.
Okay.
We were voting that vote.
We will move forward with that then, trying to find her. We think we've gotten close. We're going to try again. Timberlake subdivision, the board voted to accept the infrastructure in there. I do have a deed that is now signed by Mr. Jenkins. What I'm trying to do is coordinate with East-West developer partners. The persons that were going to do the piers in there, they agreed to make certain repairs to the pump station mainly. They, East-West, have retained central fence, coastal fence, to actually to install central fence, to install the new wood fencing around the lift station, which was one of the items on that list. Central Fence has asked us to sign a wood fence disclaimer. I believe y'all may have a copy of that. It basically says, I'll read it to you. Understand that wood fencing materials are subject to nail splitting, shrinkage, check twisting, warping, bowing, cracking, splitting, bark knots, knot holes, sap, mill, coating, and weathering. These items are not serviceable under warranty. They just want somebody to acknowledge that. Do y'all have any issue with myself or the chairman signing this so they can get started? Or would you like me to place this on the agenda on the 19th to be voted on?
I think those are all characteristics of wood that
That's what
anybody
wood
in
does.
the neighborhood would understand.
That's what they do.
I personally think you as staff is authorized to sign
Unless you're
Replacing the
planning,
fence?
sorry,
Are they replacing the fence?
for the most part, yes, sir. They're going to keep the corner post. There was an issue, I assume it was unlevel, there was a hole underneath the bottom. So they're going to keep all the corner posts in the gate and just redo the slats.
It was a height issue. They used a 6-foot fence or a 7-foot high fence. Or
So they're keeping all the frames.
So you
in.
pick it up a foot off the ground.
Yes, so they're just replacing the pickets, is what they're replacing. I will continue to follow up with East-West to make sure the other upgrades get done. And Ed actually called me today checking on status so that I can review the Cruddas' office. So as long as y'all are fine, we'll move forward. I'll keep y'all updated on status. South Effingham Elementary.
I did want to backtrack just for one point about the road thing. I did have a conversation with Linda McDaniel where she stated that in the instances in which we were taking the roads that had a tax bill due, that we could show her that in the minutes, the county had approved, and with the restriction, the wording that said we were taking the roads back at the time it was platted, that she could consider the tax bill in error and write those off. So and I know that we might need to follow and get that in writing from her, but I just wanted that to be understood, that I've had a conversation with her that she could, if the tax bill is in error, if it is indeed an error, it could be written off. And she said if there were instances in which it complied with that, that could be the case. So it might resolve some of it.
Sure, we'll follow up on like Rich Rest, one is out right now. By the way, Rich Rest, we did finally get that deed, and it's been sent for recordation. So that one is finally nearly off the books as soon as they actually stamped it into the books over there. South Effingham Elementary, there's some remodeling that went on there with that particular school. As part of that, the school has asked that they utilize reuse water for their irrigation. It is available in the roadway of College Hilton. The county is certainly in favor of doing so. We have some questions though. It's going to require a reuse agreement that will come to y'all's next meeting, so y'all have to approve that prior to actually them being able to take that. In going through the steps and in reviewing the reuse ordinance in the water and sewer agreement, staff believes we have some issues there that need to be resolved. It still references development impact fees. The credits are such that if you take 100% of the water that you generate, you pay zero fee. You get a 100% credit. If you do zero, you pay the full fee. But it references development impact fees, and it also references a section of our development impact fee ordinance. And within the impact fee ordinance itself, the development impact fee ordinance, it exempts schools. However, we're not collecting development impact fees. So there's several questions here. One, we think there's some housekeeping we need to do on that ordinance, but also this will come in the form of a reuse agreement. If you're not voting tonight, you can answer this, but some of the things we got to figure out is, are we going to charge the school fees, connection fees, water fees, tap fees, all those sort of things, because they're only exempted under development impact fee ordinance in our ordinances. I'm not so sure there's not a state law that precludes them from paying that anyhow.
Well, they're exempted, but that doesn't mean if they want use, we can't charge them. It means they're exempt, that we don't, there's not a have to situation.
State law provides an exemption from quote, unquote, impact fees. I will, sometime in the next week or so, I'll talk to Toss about
But you
the
don't have to provide
interesting
them
situation in
service.
Chatham County that just.
Well, and our thought from the standpoint of staff is even if we exempted them from the impact or cost recovery fees, if you still charge them a meter fee and a connection fee, because it costs us, we have to go buy the meter.
Right.
So we still charge the meter fee to them. And the connection fee, we just waive the impact fees if you will.
But it's still a benefit to the county. We still need to get rid of reuse water. So anybody that is willing to take some reuse water, that's a good thing, right? And that's a plus for us.
Correct. And we have a meter on it because water and sewer keeps up that and tracking how much we use for all the
We
reporting.
actually have a need to get rid of reuse.
Correct. But we have to buy that meter, so.
I understand, yeah.
So the thought of staff will be, we will make the recommendation, let's charge this meter fee and the connection fee for reuse, the impact fees.
Cost recovery.
So we worked it out this way, we're going to pull off a hydrant from the house, so we like to make the connection until we get an answer on the 19th from y'all definitively on that.
Without exception, any board member, I think that's the way we.
Okay. But it still does require a reuse agreement that we do have to bring to y'all, so that'll be on the 19th. We'll bring that up. Recreation master plan, CHA, we've met with them, Adam and I and Clarence to get basically scoping to get a schedule for when we wanted to set these meetings up and we can go through it. There's a form that we have that they would like each of you to fill out that gives your input. I printed it. I just don't know what I did with it. I think it's still on the printer right there. So I will make sure that each one of y'all get that, whether today or via email. I'll copy y'all on it, so if y'all can fill it out, send it back. And then what I really need to know from y'all is how you want to do this. We had contemplated a joint meeting between you all and the Recreation Board as stakeholders into this and staff to begin this process. As y'all know, we're meeting tonight. We have a call meeting on Wednesday. We have a regular meeting on the 19th. You all go out down the 21st, 22nd, or maybe 22nd, 23rd. So what we're asking is when would y'all like to meet? We were trying to meet before the 15th to keep his schedule, his being Patrick. However, I don't know that that's feasible unless y'all want to meet more than once next week in a meeting. I don't know that you want to tack this on the 13th because we already have a 5 o'clock workshop, a 6 o'clock meeting. And honestly, this is probably a 2 to 3 hour discussion that we do it properly because we're talking about recreation in the county at all.
Is this the one for public input as well, or was there?
My opinion, and let me tell you how we asked the contractor, and this is just my opinion, was to at least initially meet with just the board and the recreation committee because we feel like we'll get stymied by the grass is too high, there's bubble gum on the field, there's too many things. Now, once we have a meeting, if y'all want to open it to the public, that's certainly not a problem. The only schedule that we're trying to keep is the one we asked for in the RFP that they gave us in 90 days. That's completely arbitrary. We can back that up, we can make it take as little or as long as y'all want, as much input as you want, but I believe it will be beneficial for this board and the recreation committee to meet without the public. It's a public meeting, y'all, but not advertise for public input, at least initially, so that y'all can have some discussions as to how you want to shape that before you begin to deal with the public. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad idea.
I thought a public input workshop was included.
And can be.
Well, I thought it was, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. I
guess when I read stakeholders, I read public instead of county.
I think it says stakeholders defined as staff, recreation board, but again, we can certainly do it, and if y'all want to have public on the first meeting, that's up to y'all. I just thought it'd be more beneficial to have a good idea of what the board and rec board wants before opening to the public. That way, you hopefully have more of a unified voice between all of it. You're addressing the public's comments, not between each other. But that's what we're talking. How do y'all want to move forward? This is y'all project. How do you want to do it?
I think I agree with you. I think we need to meet with them, without inviting all the public, of course, somebody in the public to come.
Yes, sir.
I think we'll have a meeting just with the rec board.
But time-wise, do we need to push it back so we can actually have a reasonable meeting? I don't hear it.
It's my opinion that you don't want to stick this on the front end of one of y'all. I mean, you don't want to do it on the 19th because it should take a couple hours. I don't think you want to do it on the 13th because you already have a workshop. And Rush has got, I don't know, what you say, 12, 14, 16 options now. We're looking for another 8 or 10 more to go through with y'all on insurance. I don't know if we can do that now. We may have to have a regular meeting to come back to it. It would seem more beneficial to me that we have a workshop or a meeting dedicated solely to that. And if we do that, that means this coming week, we already have one on the 13th, we got one on the 19th. We either going to double up or we're pushing it in September.
Or do a workshop prior to the first meeting in October? Push it
September.
back.
No, we're canceling the CMC, we're canceling the first September meeting.
Right.
So if you want to have a regular meeting, it's either the end of September or a call meeting at some point along the way.
You have a meeting after, sometime the first part of September, just not the day after Labor Day.
Yes, we do that.
I mean, a lot of people going off for Labor Day.
Sure.
We could have it 3 or
What
4
y'all
days
do next
after.
Tuesday? Oh, just have it next Tuesday?
We're still August.
Either Tuesday or
We
Wednesday.
need a death in August.
Tuesday, y'all going
We're
to
saying
that?
September.
Yeah,
How
y'all
about
going
the
to
12th?
Huh?
That's the 4th.
That's the fourth, or that's 21, 95 interchange.
That's right.
You don't want to miss that, so you good.
What was the date that we canceled in September?
Second.
We could do
You want to go back to it?
any date in September, but we only have one meeting. August is full. I mean, we got meeting.
How about the next Tuesday after the second week?
Like the 9th, we could do that.
The 9th.
But that would put us meeting on the 9th and the 16th.
Pardon me?
It'd be better than August.
Pretty good with me.
Who's not going to be here on the second? Anybody have plans? Not there.
They have the regular meeting.
Should be here.
What's that? Go back up?
Do it the second or back it up later that week. The only thing, and speaking with Clarence, his board, I think he said 7, but I think we could probably make it do 6 because they have jobs and things, and I know it's difficult for some of y'all to get here before 5, so we would be probably looking at a 6 o'clock meeting to accommodate everybody's schedule, so, unless y'all say differently.
I would not be able to do it later that first week of September.
But September 9th, one thing about doing it the day after Labor Day is it's about staff members all across all affects them as well, and give them the benefit of having a long weekend if possible.
Alright.
September 9th, unless that's a problem.
That'd be good for me.
Six o'clock, okay with everyone?
Pardon me?
You want to have it in this building, I assume? And it could be a workshop, we could do it on here, just the other end, and also around the table. Don't want to do.
So this is a joint workshop with the rec department.
Rec board,
Rec board.
correct. Staff of the rec department, rec board, and staff rec board, and you all, and then by staff, it'll be, staff here and staff of the rec department.
September 9th at 6 o'clock? We good?
Yes, sir.
Everybody good?
I'm good.
You good?
I call it good, I'm done.
Any other staff? Diana?
We promised that we would report to y'all regarding the audit process. We have preliminarily met with the auditor. All of the dates that are on our current calendar are fine. The only amendment will be for, we show her testing and doing field work from 10/1 to 10/25. She believes that it will be 10/6 before she actually is in here doing the finance department's field work. She's going to go ahead and start earlier with all of the other agencies and elected officials to try and get a jump start on things. We have already started doing our preliminary confirmations and all of the other listings on the calendar.
But she'll be complete, the calendar's to the 25th. Even if she comes in on the 6th, she'll be able to.
That's what she's telling me right now.
We just got to hold them to that calendar because we cannot have another extension.
I provided this calendar to her and told her that we were going to make sure that we met this calendar.
They had a situation as well, where they had 2 years that they were on.
And it's to their benefit, they want to get these things done before tax season starts in January too. That's what happened to them.
I've asked her to go ahead and do preliminary meetings with all the elected officials. I believe she's already got some of those scheduled. And we have already started such things as bank confirmations and so forth, so that all of that will be done prior to even starting with the agency.
Have we already engaged in our contract for this next one?
With 2 years.
With that trial. Is it something that can be addressed in the future in
We'll have to bid it out this time of
contracts
year.
that are holding in the calendar?
Yes, sir.
Schedules?
That it?
Yes, sir.
Ellen? Any other staff? Curtis? Commissioner? What's the
All
law?
I had was about the Ash Road and he gave me a list of,
Mr. Mason?
The old Augusta Road, passing up the hill around the curve.
Yeah, I talked to Jerry about that again this past week. I'll get something done. I think we're going to have to bid it. We're going to have to bid it when we back up. I tried to get it done under the original contract with Baker. It never happened, and we're beyond that now. So I'm going to have to go out and get a price from somebody to grind up what's there, restripe it and do it. And I did tell him I would put that together.
I use that road back to work now, so I used to didn't, but now I do. And I've actually witnessed people passing on that, and it's actually legal. Dangerous as hell, but it's legal. But if there's a wreck, I know what's going to happen.
This wouldn't qualify for that pot of money that we found, would it? For striping? Hadn't had enough wrecks there yet.
I don't think so, because it's metric driven, and since it's a brand new road, that those metrics should all
It
fall.
was clearly a mistake.
Yeah.
I think they just, when they snapped it on there, they snapped it in the wrong direction.
It was at the end of the phase line, is what I think happened, when they picked up a new plan, they didn't think about it, my summation, but I'll get that done, you've asked about it well far enough that I need to do
No,
that.
I just see the Ken Nugents of the world taking advantage of us talking about this so many times.
One call. That's all.
And along with that, the directional sign for the trucks, 2 I-95.
Jerry's supposed to have ordered that, he and I talked about it, he was gonna get, the 2 I-95 directional signs and so forth, we've talked, I'll follow up, I believe they have been ordered.
The truck drivers that aren't familiar there, their GPS is still routing them out 4-hour regularly.
Yes, he's went out and looked at them and all, I'd like to say, he's come up with the numbers, I will verify, but I'm pretty certain he's told me he's already ordered that.
Cool. Mr. Bell?
Yeah.
Bart? Well, just so you know, what we do is not unappreciated. I've got a thank you note from somebody. Remember I brought up when we were paving down McCall Road, the complaints of the asphalt at the driveway. One person has actually written a thank you note saying, "Oh, it's so much better. Thank you. The road's great. Now we can get it out of our driveway." Actually, it's in the lake.
She didn't send me the,
Yeah, but she knew you didn't do it.
I did, I brought it up in this meeting.
So
I didn't do it, I'm not the chairman, so that's all I can say.
So our work doesn't go unnoticed every now and then. Anybody else? Do we need an executive session? I need a motion.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personal property and litigation.
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? So, regular session, back in order. I will entertain a motion on the executive session minutes for the meeting of July 15, 2014.
Make a motion to approve the minutes with a no change correction for the July 15 executive session minutes.
The name of the insurance company?
Yes. I'll second.
Okay.
Yeah, that's under number 3,
Yeah, okay.
changing from State Farm to Farm Bureau.
That's great. With my motion.
Got a motion? Did I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Any other business to come before this board this evening? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.